I can't believe you, after everything!
Please, I didn't mean to.
You always say that, it's never enough!
She didn't
I'm
warn
sorry.
us. She didn't even look afraid. She reached down and ripped the oxygen mask off my grandmother's face like it was trash. The sound it made, plastic snapping free, cut through the garden like a gunshot. My grandmother gasped.
Once. Twice.
Her hands flew to her throat, fingers shaking, nails scraping skin, as if she could pull air out of herself by force. Her eyes went wide with terror. Pure animal fear. Her knees gave out. She fell sideways onto the stone path she had swept every morning for years. I was screaming her name, running, too far away, and the woman standing over her, calm, annoyed, offended, had no idea yet. No idea that she had just crossed a line you don't come back from. Because that woman didn't just break an HOA rule. She almost killed my grandmother. And the camera in my hand was already recording. Before you watch the full story, comment below where you're watching from and subscribe. A few minutes earlier, everything was normal. Too normal. I remember thinking how quiet the afternoon felt.
No lawn mowers. No arguing neighbors.
Just the soft rustle of leaves and the distant hum of traffic. Then I heard breathing. Not calm breathing. Not tired breathing. Panicked breathing. A sharp, uneven wheeze. Like air being dragged through something broken. Then silence. A terrifying pause. Then the clatter. Plastic hitting stone. I looked up from my phone and scanned the backyard. The garden came into focus slowly. The roses. The bird feeder, the bench, and my grandmother. Or rather, my grandmother folding in on herself like her body had suddenly forgotten how to stay upright. Her oxygen tank stood beside her, perfectly upright, still running. The mask was gone, and standing in front of her was a stranger in a blazer, pointing, yelling, not helping. That's when the truth hit me like a punch to the chest. Something was very, very wrong. I'm a respiratory therapist. I've spent my adult life keeping people alive when their lungs fail them. I've seen patients panic when oxygen drops. I've watched families cry as monitors flatlined. I know exactly how fast hypoxia steals consciousness and then life. And I knew, instantly, that my grandmother was in critical danger. This wasn't discomfort. This wasn't dizziness. This was seconds from brain damage. Seconds from death. But knowing what to do doesn't make it easier when the patient is the woman who raised you. The woman who worked double shifts so you could eat. The woman who held your hand when you were sick and scared. My hands knew what to do. My heart was shattering. Her name was Carol Whitman, HOA president. She stood tall, chin lifted, like she was addressing criminals instead of an elderly woman struggling to breathe. She talked loudly. On purpose. About unauthorized equipment. About violations. About how my grandmother's oxygen tank was lowering property value. My grandmother tried to explain. She lifted one trembling hand. Tried to form words around failing lungs. Carol leaned closer. Smiled. If you're that sick, she said, you shouldn't be outside unsupervised. Then she stepped back. And didn't return the mask. Like it was a lesson. Like suffering was discipline. My grandmother collapsed completely this time. Her body hit the ground hard. Her head struck stone. Her oxygen monitor shrieked, a sound designed to signal disaster. Neighbors froze. Some shouted. Some filmed. Carol raised her phone higher. She started narrating. I warned her, she said. This is not my fault. I slid across the ground, skin scraping stone, heart pounding so hard I thought I might pass out beside her. Her lips were turning blue. Her chest barely moved. I grabbed the spare mask with shaking hands and sealed it to her face, forcing oxygen back into her lungs while begging her to breathe. Carol stepped back, annoyed. As if we were inconveniencing her afternoon. Training took over. It had to.
Airway.
Breathing.
Circulation.
I counted her breaths out loud to keep myself steady. Adjusted flow. Monitored response. She wasn't improving fast enough. When paramedics arrived, Their expressions hardened immediately. One of them looked at me and said quietly, "She was seconds away." They loaded her onto the stretcher. I climbed in with her, holding her hand, whispering apologies she couldn't hear yet. Outside, I heard shouting. Angry.
Panicked.
Metal cuffs clicked shut. Carol screamed about harassment, about lawsuits, about her position. She demanded to speak to a supervisor. The police didn't argue. They had videos. Multiple witnesses. Clear evidence. They arrested her in front of the same roses she said were so important. She never once asked if my grandmother survived. Court took months. Long, draining months where every envelope in the mail made my heart race. Where every unknown number felt like bad news waiting to happen. The day my grandmother testified, the courtroom was so quiet I could hear the soft hiss of her oxygen tank. She walked slowly to the stand, not because she was weak, but because every step reminded her of that garden. She placed her hand on the Bible. It trembled, just a little. Her voice was calm when she began.
Too calm.
The kind of calm that comes after surviving something you never should have had to survive. She said she remembered the sky that day. How blue it was. How peaceful everything looked right before she thought she was going to die. She told them she remembered thinking, "This is it. I'm going to die here. Alone." She said she tried to scream but had no air. That she saw people watching. That the worst pain wasn't the lack of oxygen. It was realizing someone chose rules over her life. No one interrupted her. Not the lawyers. Not the judge. When she finished, the courtroom stayed silent. Too silent. Then the judge leaned forward. His voice was steady, controlled, but heavy with meaning. "Power," he said, "does not grant permission to harm."
He paused.
"And authority does not excuse cruelty." He listed the charges slowly. Assault on an elderly person. Criminal negligence. Abuse of authority. The maximum sentence.
No leniency. No sympathy.
Carol didn't cry. She didn't argue. She just stared forward as the weight of her choices finally landed. When she was let out, the sound of her footsteps echoed, then faded. For the first time, the room felt like it could breathe again. Healing didn't come with applause. It came quietly, painfully. My grandmother stopped going outside, even on sunny days, even when the roses bloomed without her. She startled at voices, at footsteps, at strangers who meant no harm. She slept with the lights on, sometimes sitting upright, sometimes clutching her oxygen mask.
Why am I being arrested? This is a mistake.
She let go.
Ma'am, you have the right to
Some
remain
nights
silent.
she
I didn't
woke
do
gasping.
anything. Tell me why.
Even
Explain
with
at the station.
oxygen flowing, her body remembered what her mind tried to forget. There were days she smiled, and days she didn't speak at all. Recovery didn't look heroic. It looked slow, messy.
Real.
Then one afternoon, she asked to go outside. Just for a minute. We walked to the garden together, step by step. We replanted the roses, one at a time, hands in the soil, breathing together. She sat on the bench again, the same bench, with me beside her, with her oxygen secure. Fear didn't vanish, but it loosened. Its grip softened. And that was enough. My grandmother lived. Not because the world is fair. Not because authority always protects the innocent. She lived because someone spoke up. Because someone recorded. Because evidence mattered. She lived because cruelty was challenged instead of ignored. Abuse of power isn't loud at first. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it smiles. Sometimes it wears a title. It grows when people look away. When silence feels easier than confrontation. And I will never forget the sound of plastic hitting stone. The sound of breath stolen. Or how close we came to losing a life over someone's ego. Power can take breath away. But courage gives it back.